What's cracking with y'all? It's your boy Prince the Hustle Guy, aka Wise the Warlock, and we reaching in our combat tool bag one more again. It is a cold black affair. Shout out to the mighty LDBC, LDBC only, LDBC or nothing, LDBC everywhere, LDBC versus everybody. Do me a favor, family. Subscribe, follow, um, support everything LDBC, Trilitary, TWT, Simple Truth Network. Check out my other two channels, HFO Church and Acting Right TV. Support my OGs, OG Loco, uh, OGK Hope, that's Black Fight Fan, Usual Suspects, Shop Usual Suspects 6. Support the Usual Suspects. OG Loco, welcome. Welcome to Boxing and Breakfast. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. This is Breakfast with the Champ. Um, also, check out my little brother. Support my little brother, Black Sun, the now for Sun God. Um, so, on Usual Suspects website, shopusualsuspects6.com. MPWTF, welcome. Uh, Thank you for stopping by, family. On the Usual Suspects website, we have the tickets for November 23rd's fight in Erie, PA, and we also have combat tool bag merch, so you can get fight tickets on shopusualsuspects6.com. That's shopusualsuspects6.com. As well, you could get your combat tool bag merch. You could get Cono Loco merch. You could get Usual Suspects 6 merch. You could get Roadwear merch. You can get plenty of different beautiful designs. Stephen L. the Mac, welcome. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. This is Breakfast Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Um, Two more things to get through for the commercial. 1 second. So I have a series. I have a series on Amazon called the Hustle God series, um, also known as the Hustle God methodology. You can type in Michelangelo Turner on Amazon.com, or type in Hustle God series on Amazon.com. 4 books should pop up, if not 5, because I do also have a complete version of 1 book with all 4 books inside. But you'll see Hustle God, Art of Hustle. Um, You'll see Language of the 1%, Hustle God's Linguistics of Money. You'll see Hustle God's Afro Gold Part 1, and you'll see Hustle God Masterpiece Daily Golden Mind Molding. And lastly, for the commercial, you can sponsor your favorite fighter. You can sponsor me by just donating Cash App, supporting the channel, supporting the grind, supporting the movement at Cashtag Hustle God Inc. Cashtag Hustle God Inc. That's all one word. That said, let's dive into the show. Thank y'all for being here early. Thank y'all for waking up with me early. I know everyone's getting to work, shaking off them yesterday's woes, if you will, getting them boogers out of your ass, just shaking loose. I appreciate you doing that with me. That said, Saturday's events. Today's show is based on is focused on the fights tomorrow. So tomorrow is the Vasil Lomachenko versus Jermaine Ortiz card, and that card is coming off of the weekend we had. I can't be a spoiled boxing fan and act like this isn't going to be a pretty stacked card from top to bottom. Uh, but it definitely ain't fucking with last week. I mean, last week we seen some legendary, historical, magnificent black excellence. But this is going to be some high class, high skill, um, beautiful work as well. Uh, Top rank, they're known for their matchmaking, but they're really good at building cards especially cards that they want the viewer's attention uh, set on. So with Vasil Lomachenko's return, they're not playing. I mean, they literally threw all of their prospects on there, with the exception of Keyshawn Davis, if I'm not mistaken. But everybody else, for the most part, is on this card. So you have Delonte Tiger Johnson, is the first person I'll talk about. He's um, a tall welterweight. He's strong. Um, he's very sharp. He's a technician. Tiger Johnson is all of these prospects I'll mention there are moving pretty fast. Though they're on the top ranked diet, they're looking magnificent. Also Xander Zayas is not on this card, if I'm not mistaken. There's Xander Zayas and Keyshawn Davis. I think are the only two real prospects that are like left off this list. But yeah, he's rangy. He's very tall. He's very precise. He's accurate. Uh, he's very economic with his punches. So he's not open to be to mount an offense on easily. A very smart, very high IQ fighter, growing in all of his dimensions very swiftly, and I say has actually not even just him. I say none of these fighters that I'm going to discuss today really have a much of a ceiling uh, on their potential besides Lomachenko, and based off of what we've been given so far, Duke Reagan. But the other fighters pretty much have no ceiling on what they can do because of how they're dismantling people based off of what they've already shown, and they haven't even shown it all yet. These are still young kids who are being moved in the right direction and being maneuvered properly, but are looking spectacular in the process. So to conclude, I do think all of these prospects will be successful. I mean, I think this will be the theme of this undercard will be, or prelim uh, will be perfect prospect. I think it'll be a battle between who has the best performance amongst them as prospects, which is a good and a smart way for a promotion company to have an audience already there, not just filling in for the main event, and then B, keep the patrons engaged from top to bottom by having other people who will sell, or sell tickets to help with the perception and air around Lomachenko, and then also D, just do a spectacular job overall and help with the viewership for Lomachenko as well. Not saying that Top Rank isn't completely invested in them at all. Um, I think Top Rank is invested in them. I just know Top Rank has a very specific agenda. But that said, yeah, putting a bow on the Delonte Johnson preview or take, I do think he'll be successful. I do think he'll have a very strong showing of himself. Um, I think he'll be a very, his fight will go smoothly. I think it won't be in competition for the best, and you'll see why uh, when I go into my next fighter. But that said, look out for him. He's on the move. Kids on fire, and these young men are definitely bringing the heat. Troy Isley, Troy the Transformer Isley will be on this card, and he's a very compact, boxer puncher as far as what he's displayed. He hasn't shown that he's a reckless brawler. Um, Someone who's displayed at least the power that he's displayed typically lean on their strengths, and they don't have a complete style, like a universally developed style. It's almost well, not almost, it's a completely linear style. It's a style that's based around their strengths exclusively, and and it leaves a lot of uh, room to be capitalized on. Whereas he gives me tank vibes. Troy Isley gives me tank vibes. He's very balanced. He's an accurate puncher. He's been able to effectively set everything up, not just run in there and rip somebody's head off with the first punch he's thrown. He has good feints. Um, you see him probing and measuring defensively. So far, he's shown to be responsible. Uh, I like what I see from Troy Isley to be as short as he is, to be fighting at such a high weight class. I believe he contends at 160 or 154, I believe. Uh, but again, like I was saying before, these young men have no ceiling on what the possibilities can be for them in their um, career as far as heights they go, because a puncher like that who's defensively responsible, think of Brandon Adams, if you will. Brandon Adams is less of a puncher than what Troy Isley is being brought up to be, and Brandon Adams is defensively responsible, and he's a small 154, um, and no one can get him out of there. No one can really break down Brandon Adams. Brandon Adams is able to get in and out of range, change angles, and do a lot because he's small, and it makes the trajectory in which his opponent is trying to assault him from a lot harder, because you're punching down and then punching down on a changing angle. So if Troy Isley can not only increase his mobility and display even more of, I don't even want to say increase his mobility, he just haven't had to show it yet, but if he can display his mobility and display even more of his defense, I think he'll fall in the lines of more so, again, a boxer puncher who can be very effective out of weight class full of very tall guys, where he can rip the body and break them down and beat them to the punch on the mid range and inside. So Troy Isley, um, his last performance, if I'm not mistaken, he fought this guy where he hit him so fast and hard. He knocked him down. The guy got like clearly knocked down, but bounced back up to his feet and wobbled and essentially tried to go back at Troy Isley. He didn't even realize he was knocked down, and the ref had to stop him and literally count and like let him know, you got to recover, dude. You got fucked up real quick. Um, so Troy Isley, he's given us consistency. Um, I hope he doesn't fall into the trap that Edgar Berlanga fell into, and that's only focusing on the power and not the boxing IQ. But he's already displaying a higher boxing IQ than I think I seen early on from Edgar Berlanga. I do think Edgar is doing better now to me. I know a lot, he gets a lot of flack from everyone else, but he's doing better now to me because he's actually boxing. And as soon as he starts boxing, which is what we've been saying he should do, people start jumping off the bandwagon. So I find it funny uh, that it's almost a boxers can't win scenario, but but not to digress, Troy Isley, I don't think he's falling into that trap at all. I think he's so far so good scenario for real. He's been displaying a good level of his boxing IQ. We just need to see more rounds with him, and see more of his see what it's like when people are trying to fire back, or see what it's like when he's under pressure. Um, but moving on, we have uh, Duke Reagan. Duke Reagan. I've known about Duke Reagan since the when I first started boxing. It was like the year after I started boxing. I heard about Duke Reagan. He was a well known, well respected, well touted, and well backed amateur for USA boxing, winning all of the tournaments all over the country. And I've I recognized him and was familiar with him specifically, not just because he was winning all these tournaments, because there's a bunch of different weight classes. There's a number of people doing that, but uh, because if I'm not mistaken, he's from the East Coast like I am, and then closer to my weight than any of the names I seen making those making those rankings on a regular basis in the amateurs. And so I was keeping an eye on this guy and had so much anticipation on possibly seeing him, or like seeing him in the ring one on one in the amateurs. But I did realize that politically we're far separate because of his experience level at the time. I was like, maybe I'll see this guy in the pros or something like that. Um, and when he made that transition, I was excited for him. When he made that transition, I was anticipating greatness. I was anticipating crazy backing. I was anticipating a lot of promotion and swift movement, and just being above the bar compared to everyone else. And compared to everyone else on this card, it's oh, before I continue with that point, uh, because I didn't want to skip a point I made and when talking about Tiger Delonte Johnson. Um, Troy Isley, I do believe, will compete for having one of the best performances of the prospect. When I say the perfect prospect theme, I do believe they'll be competing for the best performance of themselves. They won't get enough credit for the things that they'll display because they're on the same card as Lomachenko. So I think that in competing amongst each other, they'll be able to create banter and friendly competition amongst themselves, and seeing who has the best prospect performance. I do think Troy Isley will have one of them, and it will be in competition with one of the other guys I'll mention. But back to Duke Reagan. Duke Reagan isn't one of the ones I believe will have one of the best performances either. Not unlike Tiger Delonte Johnson, Duke Reagan has shown a lot of like Tiger Delonte Johnson. He has a high boxing IQ. He has a lot of experience based on his amateur pedigree, and but unlike Tiger Johnson, he's not respecting his best attributes and not showing us the best of himself in there. Um, Even when he made the transition and going pro, yeah, he signed with Top Rank, and yeah, he probably got an advance and got some good interesting improvements to his team, but I didn't see the level of backing that I thought was deserving of. That his that you know how people use it in the pros, the importance of the amateur career, the importance of the amateur experience, but a lot of people miss the backing is based on that as well. And his amateur experience. Oh, hold on one second. Welcome, 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 Queen, to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Thank you again. She blessed me with the name. Thank you for stopping by. I appreciate your support. Uh, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast, and you make sure you have a wonderful day. All of y'all have a wonderful day. Uh, but yeah, Duke Reagan, the backing that his name earned in these boxing streets, and like dedicating himself to USA boxing and doing all of these amateur fights. I didn't see that reciprocated, or I didn't see that level of investment coming from Top Rank as much as I see with obviously Lomachenko or the next fighter I'll mention on after him, or even as much as Shakur Stevens or even Keyshawn Davis, So that didn't match. His performances aren't matching. So you got the backing thing, how he's being moved. You have, what do you mean you don't like MMA versus boxing, Queen? Um, Sorry guys, I was just reading the chat. Um, but yeah, so wait, I think I know what you mean. Sorry. I think when I was talking about moving Duke Reagan, Queen Tay, she said she doesn't like MMA versus boxing, but I think she's speaking in reference to um, the backing, since that was the point I was on. When you think of the transition from amateur MMA to pro MMA, because the company style is almost in a Tekken style setup, there it seems a lot more equal or democratic in the promotion of these fighters, because they go based off of a ranking system exclusive to the company, and that's why we see a lot of the best fighting the best in UFC. So you don't see much of a bias until you get people that fit the cutter archetypes that the company wants to back, and then you'll see a certain type of bias in the promotion. But I tend to agree with that too. Boxing backing versus mixed martial arts backing. Um, in the masses, the MMA backing for the beginning fighter or beginner professional is best. Um, Ratchet since 91, welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Thank you for stopping by. Appreciate all of y'all support. So yeah, I was saying that Duke Reagan, he did a lot. He was well known and was a very well established and touted amateur, and he had a lot of backing from USA Boxing that made sure that he was known, that made sure that he was in all of the ranking systems aside of him doing the work, uh, busting ass. Now, again, when he made the transition to pro, I expected him to have more of a backing, like at least a Shakur Stevenson, at least a Keyshawn Davis, you know, a Berlanga, but not even close. It's like he was signed, and he was signed on a level of, put it like this: Raymond Ford, Ray Ford with DAZN wasn't. He was a good amateur, very good amateur. He wasn't half the amateur that Duke Reagan was. Duke Reagan was reminiscent of Gary Russell Jr. as an amateur, and Raymond Ford. If we look at numbers and we look at as many times as we've seen Raymond Ford fight and the platform level, like whose cards he was fighting on, he's been moved much better than Duke Reagan. And Duke Reagan, you know, I'll be in a dead drum if I was saying he was a well-known great amateur. So now, focusing in on the performances, he's given us consistently inconsistent performances, and he's been showing us. I say consistently inconsistent because he'll have a good match where he's giving us a clean boxing match. Yeah, he'll get touched up a little bit, but he's not staying at sticking to his best attributes. He's trying to um, fight the guy at his own game, and that's not everyone's skill set. Everyone isn't Earl Spence. When he fights to his best attributes, and that's outboxing him, being a slickster at range, and turning them and winning, just winning with the jab, controlling with the jab, hurting them with everything else, he tends to look spectacular. But he's not giving us any of those any of that in any one performance. One sec, guys. Some of these MMA fighters don't understand the striking is totally different in boxing. Uh, oh yeah, absolutely different. Opulent LDTV, welcome family, welcome. Appreciate you stopping by. Uh, Pull up to the table that says boxing and breakfast, aka breakfast with the champ. Have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Appreciate your the support again. Uh, I gotta get through these other few fights. So yeah, the Duke Reagan, I don't believe he'll contend and have one of the best performances of the night. I think because he's given us so many different flawed performances, because he his self belief is so high. He believes he can just go in there and be like Boots and do anything in there. Whereas isn't just doing anything. If you actually watch what Boots is doing, he's working behind his jab, controlling the fight with his jab. And then when he blitzes you with a combination to try to hurt you, he just effectively hurts the person. So he can go for the finish afterwards. Whereas Duke Reagan, he has all of the skill set to do whatever he wants with you, but he goes in there trying to do whatever he wants with you, or do whatever you want to do with him, and it just makes it him have tooth and nail fights with far lesser fighters. So in a nutshell, he's fighting to the level of his competition, um, and that's why he, in my opinion, won't contend for one of the better performances of the night, because he hasn't done it in the past, even when he wasn't on stacked undercards like this. So the last, before getting into the Lomachenko versus Jermaine Ortiz, it's one of the guys that I really fucks with, and that's pause, and that's Robisi, the train, El Train, El Tran Ramirez, Robisi Ramirez, man. So Robisi Ramirez beat Shakur in the amateurs. He's a gold medalist. He's with Ishmael Salas. Ishmael Salas, he gets flack for the things that he say about EJ, but if you actually look at what Ishmael Salas does with his guys, he does a whole lot of good for his guys. He has a very specific style. Him and Derek James are both, um, they have a heavily rooted catch and shoot style. Paul Sutherland, welcome. Appreciate you stopping by. London, appreciate it. This is Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Um, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Pull up to the table, and make sure you have a great day. Um, so, for BC, uh, where was I with it? I guess I'm just giving you the background on Rabisi. Very experienced, uh, world level amateur, um, Puerto Rican fighter. I think he's Puerto Rican. Um, he's Puerto Rican or Cuban. Oh, I was talking about Ishmael Salas. Yeah, Ishmael Salas and Derek James both have a style that's heavily rooted in the catch and shoot style, meaning that it's it can be applied as an offense style, um, where you're working your way to the inside, either behind a jab or creative intercepting pop shot in, and then when the person opponent fires back, you catch it, block it, parry it, and then fire your combination to finish. That would be described as a catch and shoot style. That said, I gotta welcome the Queen 71. Welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Appreciate you stopping by. Pull up to the table, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Thank you for your support. Have a great day. Um, yes, so a style that catch and style is, it can be used offensively, um, as I described, or it can be used defensively as a counter style. Now that the style that I described offensively is still a counter punching style because it's working behind the jab or behind intercepting pop shot with the left or a check hook. Um, you only have two arms and a limited amount of punches to throw before someone will fire back. You catch, parry, block, and then you finish your combination or initiate another combination. Now that can be used and on the flip side with being led with lateral movement, foot movement, and then starting the combination with intercepting or starting the combination with a counter. So it can be applied as a counter punching style as well, or a defense first style as well. And Ishmael Salas and Derek James, to me, have perfected that like no other. We haven't really seen that style or a style reminiscent of that since the late great Archie Moore, and yeah, so I had to articulate that because that's one of the reasons I'm drawn to Ldbc. Now, when I heard about his amateur background, I was like, cool, okay, he's a beast, but how does he fight? And then seeing him fight, he takes that Ishmael Salah style and gets real slick with it. Gets real slick with it. So um, the catch and shoot style, it doesn't mean that you don't slip or that you don't roll or pull punches. It just means that f- primarily, or the first go to after your feet, obviously, would be to parry, catch, or block. Then it would be to slip, roll, or pull, or backstep. And like Earl Spence, he does a lot of he'll catch parry and then slip, or like Canelo, catch parry, slip, and then fire back some deadly shit. We most of us have seen the Super Abraham Nova Ldbc Ramirez fight. If you haven't, check it out. Just type it in YouTube or however you watch your fights, and watch that fight and watch his high guard, um, his active high guard. Watch how he's walking Nova down. Nova's bigger fighter. He's this Saturday is fighting another bigger fighter, and he's just effectively walks these guys down, makes them use their jab, makes them miss with their jab via the parrying. Even though a lot of guys get nervous around him and just throw probing jabs and immediately go to the back foot, which is I think why he just will parry, walk him down, catch, slip, and then fire a big overhand left or to the temple or nose, and then or he'll slip to the opposite side and shoot a three to the body, right hook to the body, or crazy uppercut. He shows a lot of flashes of Tank and Earl Spence in his approach. He just throws a lot less punches than Earl Spence, so that's what makes him lean a little more to the Tank side. Um, Ldbc Ramirez and Ishmael Salas have a cohesion like Earl Spence and Derek James. So stylistically, they're a mashup that um, is a gift to watch. That said, I believe Ldbc Ramirez steals the show when it comes to the prelims or the undercards. Perfect prospects, friendly competition. I think they'll be having. I think Ldbc Ramirez will come out on top because of his skill set, because of his aggression, because of his fan-friendly style. You really have a proven boxer puncher in Ldbc Ramirez, and excellent counterpuncher in Robeisy Ramirez, and he's given us what Duke Reagan. No offense to Duke Reagan, just being very critical of him because I've been watching him for some time now, and I know he can display a better a better presentation of style, but Robeisy has given us consistency, um, like across the board. Though he did lose his first fight, um, after that it's been him like dominating people, i.e. the train. But last but not least, or last but least, you could say Lomachenko versus Jermaine Ortiz, the main event. We do have some other fights going on in Japan, the lighter weight fights, fights closer to my weight class. You have a lot of those fights going on over there. Not sure who the promotional company is for those guys, but I'll be tuning in too. Just know that there's another card going on the same time. Lomachenko versus Jermaine Ortiz. Lomachenko makes his return after, again, he was being touted as a war hero across the board, and then at this press conference, he admits he was just patrolling. He was like a Coast Guard, and we all know when it comes to the military over here in the United States, it's the least military of the military. The Coast Guard is like being, uh, um, no offense to the Coast Guard people out there watching, but Coast Guard is like getting military credentials, being a security officer, like a security guard. It's not the Marines, it's not the Navy, it's not the Army. Like you're on home soil, patrolling for the most part, and that's all Lomachenko admittedly did while he did a little short stint in this conflict that we hear about over there. But after him making his return, he'll well, not after he's making his return to fight Jermaine Ortiz. I do have Lomachenko winning this fight. I have all of the prospects winning their fights. Uh, that's top rank matching for you. But Jermaine Ortiz, he's liked a lot by um, the community, and I see why he's a good fighter. Um, he's a very sharp, orthodox fighter. Um, he can outbox you from the outside and the inside uh, fairly easy, I'd say, because of his volume and his creativity and his speed. Uh, but then he can switch as well. We know how the consensus puts a lot of emphasis and credit on switch hitting. So he can switch, but when he switches, we see immediate difference in skill. Um, on the southpaw side, he resorts to fighting exclusively in the mid range or close range. He's not really. I don't think he's very confident in himself at distance uh, from the southpaw stance. In that stance, he's also less defensively responsible. He gets hit a little bit more, but he's more aggressive also out of that stance. So um, we, I think that's why people feel this fight is a lot closer because he has good attributes, but um, he's not like an amazing or special athlete. He's like a good athlete, but an even better fighter. So I don't know if the fact that his athleticism isn't as good as Lomachenko's athleticism is, I don't know if that point is landing home for a lot of people. I don't know if a lot of people are seeing that Lomachenko's athleticism trumps his athleticism. So he has a high boxing IQ, and Loma has a high boxing IQ, and we can't tell whose is higher really until they get in there. But from the eye test, from looking from the outside looking in, Lomachenko's skill set, his IQ is far higher than what I've seen from Jermaine Ortiz. And then they're familiar with each other because they're sparring partners. There was a big hoopla about Deontay Wilder fighting Robert Helenius. There's no hoopla about um, Lomachenko fighting this Jermaine Ortiz and their sparring partners. There was no um, hoopla about Canelo fighting Avni Yildirim, who was also a sparring partner, and he also sparred Triple G, which not a lot of people know for some reason. They have pictures in sparring gear together, like so they were sparring partners. Brent Fox, welcome, welcome family, welcome. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the support. Pull up to the table. This is and have some battle with your breakfast. This is boxing and breakfast, aka uh, breakfast with the champ. Appreciate your support. Have a great day. Um, yeah. So Lomachenko versus Jermaine Ortiz. Jermaine Ortiz again. I'm not knocking him. I think he's a good athlete and a better fighter, a better boxer, like an even better boxer because his boxing IQ is higher than what his athletic ability will allow him to do. And it doesn't mean boxing IQ is extremely through the roof, but it says something about athletic ability, if you get what I'm saying. Now, Lomachenko's boxing IQ and his athletic ability are both pretty high. Why? Because he's able to display his boxing IQ physically. Um, Granted, I've seen a lot more of his fights than I have of Jermaine Ortiz, but he's able to display a lot more of his boxing IQ physically through the things he's doing in the ring, through the punch placement, through I hate to say it, but through the angles, because that's like his selling point. But the angles he sets up to actually place certain punches around the guard or through the guard, through his guard manipulation, through his feints. He's displayed a higher boxing IQ through his adjustments as well, um, through his ability to take away his opponent's strongest attribute, um, and not take forever to do so as well. So his athleticism allows him to display a higher level of his IQ through the through the examples I've just given. Whereas when I look at Jermaine Ortiz, I see he's a good athlete, but I see Loma as a great athlete. To be honest, Loma at his athleticism is a great level. I mean, you do the acrobatic shit and the dancing shit and all of the other stuff he mixed into the pot to the to mix in with this peekaboo style that Mike Tyson has. People say we've never seen that style before. He fights in the exact same stance as Mike Tyson. He's a little more squared. He doesn't give you the half a man, which we say in boxing terminology to refer to the bladed stance that a traditional boxing stance applies. He's more square because anyone who studies the peekaboo guard understands the windshield wiper head movement style, and he uses the exact same style. It's the peekaboo style, and when you think from a more squared off stance, your go-to isn't going to be a neutral back. Your go-to is going to be a sidestep. Hence his lateral movement. He just shuffles well on the inside, but it's really the peekaboo style without crazy punching power. So he places his punches effectively, and why he has to place his punches effectively off an angle, so that he can actually get stoppages. Because in a peekaboo style, being more squared off, um, you you don't get as much of a cheat or a rotation as you do for your straight shots. So it's easier, and you get more. You can make up for the lack of rotation there, for your rotation and your hooks out of the peekaboo style. or the peekaboo stance than you can out of the bladed half a man traditional boxing stance. That said, that style mesh up, the style mesh up. When you look at Lomachenko's mobile peekaboo style, and you look at the traditional orthodox slash seasonal switch hitting style of Jermaine Ortiz, who more rooted in their style, on top of who's the better athlete, on top of who has the uh, boxing IQ, that also leans toward Lomachenko. Um, why? Because uh, Lomachenko has displayed that more, and me seeing more of his bouts. Uh, 1 second. D man, what's cracking with you, cuzzo? Welcome to Boxing and Breakfast, aka Breakfast with the Champ. Pull up to the table, have a little bit of battle with your breakfast. Woo, I'm over time. Take it back to the top, cuzzo. Definitely take it back to the top. This is a replay friendly live. It's always basically 45 minutes or less, basically. Um, yes, in conclusion, yeah, I'm gonna wrap up my little point on Loma, give a little summary, and then get into this little commercial before I go, y'all. Uh, so if you get here late, jump to the top. You'll enjoy the live, trust me. So yeah, uh, you got the style matchup. Who's more rooted in their style? The athleticism matchup, and then the IQ matchup. And I've given Loma all three. The style matchup, who's more rooted in their style. I haven't seen Loma come out of that peekaboo stance. I haven't seen Loma um, stop. Well, I mean, we've we have seen Loma beat twice, so we have seen the style be rendered ineffective, but we haven't seen him come out of himself or come out of that style. So um, I got Loma winning that fight. All of the A sides winning their fights. Tiger Johnson, Rabisi Ramirez, Troy Isley, Duke Reagan all fight on this card. Um, I do believe Troy Isley and Rabisi Ramirez will compete for the real fight, the true fight of the night. And because they won't get the credit because it's a Lomachenko card, I say perfect prospect competition. I do think it'll come down to Rabisi Ramirez, his performance, and Troy Isley, his performance, on who will have the best showing of the night. Um, said, I appreciate y'all stopping by and having breakfast with the champ. Do me a favor, family. Support, follow, subscribe to everything LDBC, Trilitary, TWT, Simple Truth Network. Check out my other two channels, HFO Church and Acting Right TV. Support my OGs, OG Carno Loco, OG K Hope, that's Black Fight Fan. Support the usual suspects. ShopUsualSuspect6.com. ShopUsualSuspect6.com. Get you uh, some Cadillac Red merch. Get you some Oddfella merch. Get you some KG merch. Get you some Act Reacher merch. Get you some 503 Line merch. Get you some Stay Ready merch. Some of each individual usual suspects merch. Get you some of each individual usual suspects merch. Support the usual suspects. Um, get some Kano Local merch. Uh, support my little brother Black Sun, the 9-4 Sun God, and please get you some combat tool bag merch on shopusualsuspect6.com. I have a book series on amazon.com. The link will be in the description. Um, you can type in Michelangelo Turner on Amazon or Hustle God series on Amazon. You will find Hustle God Masterpiece, Daily Golden Mind Molding. You will find Hustle God Afro Gold Part 1. You'll find Language of the 1%. That's Hustle God's Linguistics of Money. You will find Hustle God Art of the Hustle. Um, what was I going to say about that? Yeah, you can click the links that will be in the description. Um, Definitely check it out on Amazon.com. And lastly, you can sponsor your favorite fighter by supporting the channel and donating to the Cash App. It's Cashtag Hustle God Inc. Cashtag Hustle God Inc. just like it's spelled, all one word. And again, I appreciate y'all support. It's a cool black affair. Till next time, guys. Love y'all and deuces. We will be back Monday.